I'm excited to be here for session 3 from our Smart Tech Smart from the Start series. We're going to be talking about real life experiences and contrasting them with digital experiences for young children. So I am going to first give us a very quick recap of what we covered in sessions 1 and 2, just to tie it all together. Um, we talked in session 1 about the fact that the tech world often wants our attention 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't have safety laws. This makes it harder to parent around technology. So it's totally fine if you feel overwhelmed by this. We hope that you've been able to use some tips for both finding better content that's more worth your child's attention and also setting some boundaries so that you can find time in your day to do the hands-on and social activities that really help kids develop great skills from language to social and emotional skills. We also went through a lot of my research on mobile apps and YouTube and how sometimes they try to make money off of kids. And sometimes they have shallow learning designs, even though they call themselves educational. So hopefully you came away from that with a few ideas of how to find the good stuff, the nonprofits such as PBS Kids and Sesame Street. And today we're going to talk about, okay, the time that you're not using screens, what can you be doing and why? How does it help kids with their health and development? So like I did for the first two, I love to take a little bit of a time capsule back to when you were kids. The last two times we talked about what technology you used as a child, what shows you watched as a child. Now I want you to think back to what were your favorite offline activities as a young child. This is so important to tap into because it activates that inner child in you that then is easier to play with your own kids. So I put a few examples. I love photos of retro playground equipment that looks so unsafe compared to today's standards, but I literally had this playground equipment like at the back of my kindergarten school, this one that just looks like a big old grid, right? And these ones that look like space age little capsules that you could climb on. So think back, what are the playgrounds near you where you live with your young kids? Which ones did you go to as a kid? Playgrounds are great. Like they're designed to let kids' minds just go all over the place, decide what they want to do, plan out what they want to play and execute and problem solve. Playgrounds are the best. So really encourage that. Even in these cold days, sometimes you can just bundle up and get out there. Nature is really, I'll talk about the benefits of nature, but I put a few leaves here because I loved collecting leaves as a kid. I'm a very visual learner, and maybe you have kids who love visual spatial things, but leaves was just my favorite part of the fall season. What sort of offline toys did you use as a child? This I had, did anyone else have this phone? This little funny rotary phone that you would pull around. I don't know why you pull around a phone for fun, but we did. So think about the toys you liked. I also remember that like Fisher Price like set where you would have the records and you would play the records. And think about things like that because sometimes they come back around and you can find them for your own kids. I put the crayon box here because I loved the smell of the crayon box. And there was always just tons of different crayons in there for coloring or drawing or filling out coloring books. So, and then I also put a few of my either my favorite books to read to my own kids or that I liked as a young kid. And again, this is that nostalgia or that time of tapping into your own childhood that really helps you then connect with what your child might be feeling or experiencing in those early years. So, make a list of your own and then think of ways to either get out to that playground, get out to your library, and we'll talk about a few specific ideas how to build that into your week. Okay, so this is where I started. The real life experiences matter. I'm going to show you that slide again from this is what we reviewed in sessions 1 and 2 about the way tech companies make money off our time and attention and how to find good content. And then this was what I was showing with my experience in the my own early childhood, being in playground equipment that looks like that, or that bucket of crayons or favorite books. So think about the ones that you might want to um, bring back from your own childhood and bring into your rotation with your own kids. Okay, here's some of the research I wanted to cover about what the benefits of time outdoors are. There have been many, many studies showing that more time in nature is associated with higher child self-esteem, more resilience, more focus, and better academic performance, even. More time outdoors also translates to less sedentary time. That's time just sitting around, which when we do sit around too much, it can reduce our heart and lung fitness. So, getting kids used to the activity of either having an indoor dance party, running around a community center or gym, or getting outside into the playground, kind of onto the swings, is just a really good both for their mental health as well as for their physical health. Uh, More time outdoors with natural light helps regulate our sleep-wake cycles better. It also has been found to prevent myopia, which is nearsightedness. So when you are looking at a screen up close, your lenses of your eyes need to kind of bend and focus in a certain way to be able to see only 12 or 18 inches in front of you. When you look around the world and nature, you are shifting those lenses to look a little bit further. And that sort of change from looking near to looking far is really important for kids to be able to maintain good eyesight that can see to both of those distances. So this is actually um, a public service announcement from a health promotion group trying to get kids to reduce their risk of myopia by getting outdoors and playing more often. And it's also just, I find that especially kids who are neurodivergent or have different sensory profiles really like time outdoors because the soundscape is different, the light is different and is filters slightly differently through trees. So I definitely find benefits to kids' self-regulation when they're able to spend time outdoors. I understand that like really hot days, days where there's bugs and mosquitoes, or really frigid days where it's just really cold, those are barriers to getting outside. But the more you can build it into a regular habit, the more it can build that love of nature and that expectation that getting outside is just a regular part of what we do. But I understand that kids live in all sorts of neighborhoods where it might be hard to get outside. I just put in some Google Map aerial shots of some of the neighborhoods that my patients live nearby, near Detroit or near rural areas of Michigan. So there's research showing that the neighborhood you live in really shapes how much outdoors time you can get. Kids who live in neighborhoods with sidewalks or walking paths, and those with more social cohesion, meaning I trust my neighbors are going to watch out for my kids. Those kids living in those neighborhoods get outdoors to play more. So you can't always control exactly where you live. What you can do is figure out what's great about my neighborhood and how could we build a routine. Are we going to walk the dog every day and then we can say hi to the neighbors that we know? Is it a good space for bike riding? Or how can I always tell my patients, get outside and help your neighbors. You are a strong, a little kid. You can learn to shovel some snow, mow some grass. Maybe you can make $5 out of it, but it really helps to both chip in with your neighbors and build those human connections as well as enjoy the time being outdoors. And then many families find as their kids get older, the organized sports help their kids get outdoors, but it's also important for you to build a love of like, let's get out and take a hike today, or let's get out and walk along the river. Okay, so shared book reading is also really important for so many aspects of child development. And there's a lot that you can get from a print book that you cannot get from an electronic book. Um, we as pediatricians really care about shared book reading because a lot of US children, 2/3 in recent estimates, aren't reading at the proficient level yet by the end of third grade. So that's concerning because if you don't love reading, if reading is hard for you, you may not want to read when you're older. You may struggle more in middle school and high school. The number one thing you can do as a family to get a child more up to speed with reading is to read with them every day or as often as you can at home. Uh, and that, unfortunately, in most US families, families are really busy. You have lots of time demands on you, and only about a quarter of children, young children in low income households are read to daily. And it's only about a half of the rest of US families that are read to, where young children are read to every day. Okay, so think about how you could build that into your routine. Because shared book reading, pediatricians, we consider this a cornerstone of positive parent-child relationships. There's research, tons of it, showing kids who get read to more have bigger vocabulary. They learn to read faster. They get to snuggle with their parents and have those serve and return and shared emotional interactions. So it helps with their behavior. And then there's even research showing that when you read with your kids every day, there's greater parent empathy and parents feel more self-efficacious. They feel like I can handle stuff better. So, think about some of the books you might want to stack up around your house so that your kids can grab them and you can have some time snuggling and talking to each other at the end of every day. Here are some tips for making it an easy to do thing. I often say in talks that often technology is just the easy button. It's the thing we can grab the fastest. It turns on right away. It instantly has something pleasurable and fun to do. So try to make books the easy button. Plan a weekly trip to the library with your child. Let them hold the card, let them scan the card and scan the books, let them pick out a few books, and then they can just have that stacks and sitting around in different areas of the house. I like to keep books easily accessible. So they might be a few in the car, a few, in your bag when you're going out for outings, have some stacked by the bed where your child sleeps. So that it's an easy thing to grab when there's downtime rather than putting on the TV or grabbing a phone. It's nice to set up a cozy space where the child can sit and read in your home. I love watching toddlers kind of grab their book and like plop down in a little chair or something like that so that they can look through books to calm down by themselves. If you're looking for a gift idea around the holidays and says, what can I get you? You could get a subscription to a child-friendly magazine where they can like look every month when it comes and, do all the little activities inside. And that also gets them used to enjoying sitting and reading with physical paper rather than, kind of playing games on a device. Um, there's no perfect way to read, but it really is fun to kind of read and talk to kids in whatever your native language is. You don't have to just read in English if you grew up reading and talking in a different language. And then ask questions and connect the dots. If you're reading a book about a child who had a rough day at school or is anxious about going to the doctor, talk about when your child had those same sorts of feelings. That really helps your child understand, what is this character feeling? How do I feel? And how can I cope in future times if I face that again? Okay, and lastly, I'm going to talk about play. Play is how kids learn. Play is just really, really important to their emotional well-being, to their learning how to stretch their attention spans. And often kids want to play online instead of offline. So I'm going to review a few ways that digital play sometimes is harder or it's not as positive for kids as offline play is. Now, it's always fun to play a video game together or do something that is fun and novel for the child. But what we have found is when kids are playing on tablets, often it's hard for parents to play along. We did a study where we brought in preschool aged children and their parents. We had them play on a playmat and we put out a bunch of different toys. There were like card games, board games, dolls, all those sorts of traditional toys. And they played with that for 15 minutes. And then we swapped and had them play with their tablet for 15 minutes. And what we found was when they played with regular toys, there was lots more of parents and kids facing each other, talking back and forth, taking turns. You could tell that toys were designed with two users in mind, where you could take a turn and share and really get that serve and return relationship back and forth. In comparison with a tablet, kids often just wanted to put it in their lap and then they would hunch over it, as you can see here. And then parents were kind of like peeking over the shoulder or trying to find ways to engage, but it was much harder to engage. So we say with digital play, there's just less space for the parent. So often it's harder to do together with kids. With digital play, we have found that there's more external rewards and motivation. So digital games are so packed with little gimmicky rewards. Like, I mean, look at this one. There's balloons and fireworks and um, aliens and flags and a parade. And there's like these amusement park rides. So I think this was at the end of like you did a math problem and you got like all of these explosive, exciting cheers and things like that. In this app where you play with your virtual grandparents, you can come back every day and get a little present. So, right, that's an external motivation to do something, and they reward you for coming back and doing it every day. Same thing here with like you spin this surprise eggs spinner and you collect toys to put in this toy collection. So you can see here where a child would keep playing in these same ways again and again because they get a reward every time. A very clear, yay, you got balloons, you got a toy. In comparison, let's think of what usual play might feel like. So I'm going to get some crayons and I'm going to get some paper and I'm going to, draw something myself and maybe it's something pretty and that I'll show to my, my caregiver. What are the rewards there? So you might have a caregiver say, oh, that's so nice, like great job at that. But a lot of the rewards are internal when you are playing. Oh, this feels good. This smells good. I like how I did that. Um, you might be playing dress up, or you might be playing chasing games. And the rewards are social. Ah, I made that person laugh. Or it felt really good when we were running and then we were tickling. So those sorts of rewards are these kind of natural social and sensory rewards, not this reward of like, you got a sticker, you got a surprise egg, you got fireworks. So think about those more natural rewards as being more helping the child learn to love playing and building motivation that comes from within, not always relying on an external reward to do everything. And then finally, a big difference is, and I showed this in our last time, these were two examples of some of the lower quality apps we found. We called this very closed loop design. This is very repetitive. You just do the same things over and over. And even though it's a little bit of a game, it's not the same thing as say, oh, I'm going to go play dress up and I can put on anything and pretend I'm anyone. Or I'm going to go outside and figure out what to draw with chalk. Or I'm going to make a snow fort and I'm going to make it any way my mind can imagine. So think of it as the app designer telling the child what to do step by step versus your child's mind deciding what to do step by step, right? So you can think of so much more freedom that the child has when they are deciding what to play rather than relying on the digital prompts and scaffolds to decide how to play next. Okay, so those are the three things that digital play doesn't always measure up to offline play. There's not as much social interaction. You don't have as much internal motivation, and you don't have as much freedom to play and explore the ways you want to. So here are some tips for how to play in an open-ended and positive way that helps child development. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be the perfect setup. Just grab something that your child is interested in. Think of games that you liked as a child. It could be something for your imagination, something construction, something arts and crafts. And this is really worth a listen, this NPR Life Kit piece about a daily playtime routine. Just 5 or more minutes a day of this special time has been shown to lead to kids listening better and less oppositional behavior. And what it means is it's really this open time with kids where you don't micromanage, you just praise, reflect, imitate, describe, and show some enthusiasm. Meaning you observe, you kind of say, oh, you're doing that. Oh, I really like the way you give specific praise, not just you're so smart, but oh, I really like the way you fit those together. That's a cool idea. Um, Talk about what they're doing, but don't demand anything of them. Don't direct them. Oh, you're doing that wrong. Here, I'll do it this way. Don't micromanage. Hands off. Just show them you're watching, show them you're listening to them. If they tell you something, build upon it. And then show how interested you are in the child. This is part of positive special time that helps kids feel more connected to their parents, but also feel like their parents are listening to them. I just wanted to put in a few tips about parent technology use because parents, when we use technology, we talk to our kids less, we're less responsive and sensitive, we don't connect as much with our body language, and parents say it's really stressful to try to manage both our phones and our kids at the same time. And the same design tricks that keep kids online longer also keep us online longer. So the more you can make your own parent phone boundaries, that's going to lead to more time and freedom for reading outdoors and play that we just talked about. So we have a handout from the AAP around parent screen time boundaries. And here's just a couple tips that we put on there. One, take a look at your screen time output. You should be able to find this in your settings or your digital wellness features. Look at where you spend the most time. Does that app give you joy? Or does that app drive you crazy sometimes? Take a look and say, all right, I'm going to put a limit on that one. I'm going to take a break from that one. Sometimes it's news, sometimes it's social media. Just think of it, the ones that you're just like, sometimes that's fun, but sometimes it just adds to my stress and try to reduce that one. We find in our studies that parents who use a lot of their phones have higher depression symptoms. So recognize when you're kind of going to your phone as a way to cope rather than finding other ways to cope. Parents tell us it helps to put physical distance between you and your device. Okay, just don't even think about it. Don't let it be the easy button. Put it in another room or your bag. And then if you do want to grab your phone to relax, just set a plan so you don't get stuck in a feed and just say, I'm going to watch some funny videos. I'm going to check in with friends. If you let your kids know what you're doing, you're also role modeling healthy and self-regulated media use. Sometimes as parents, we are just constantly on our phones parenting, managing our kids' lives, checking in with the doctor's office, doing our email, buying holiday gifts. Sometimes you actually need to schedule time offline, right? So you might want to go have lunch with friends. You might want to sit and read your own book, something else that's really just some solitude where you don't constantly feel like that phone is pinging for your attention. Um, and then, similar to what I said before, when you are using your device around your kids, talk about why you're using it. I'm just texting grandma to see how she is. I'm just going to chill for 20 minutes. Again, you're kind of talking out loud and teaching your child that like phones have a time and a place. Like we talked about with the boundaries around their own screen use, they can't have their tablet all day, right? Their tablet has a phone and a place, and so does your phone. Okay, so thank you for listening tonight. I'm just going to sum up what we talked about. If there's 3 activities you could set aside as the most beneficial for your child's well-being and their mental health, it's reading, outdoors, and some unstructured playtime. Okay, so when you set those screen time boundaries and you try to, put the tablet away or put your own phone away, prioritize these 3. Remember, if your kids love media, which is high pleasure, low friction, and then you try to get them to do something harder, like, here's some crayons, draw something. Those offline activities have more friction, but it's developmental friction. This is how kids learn and grow. They have to sit there and be bored or confused for a couple minutes until they think of an idea or until they get the confidence of like, oh, I can do this. So give it time. If your kids complain, that's okay, that's normal. You just have to kind of wait through that resistance and maybe even help them, give them some hints, show them a few things to try. And like I said before, having some boundaries help us really stay available for moments of connection that are the bedrock of young kids' mental health.